I just hurt my thumb moving my microphone like an idiot. Well, like I normally move things, which is like an idiot. Hello, and welcome to a stream about, anything you want to talk about, really. If you want to ask any questions about myself, about Star Citizen, about mental health, whatever, question in brackets. It's Monday or Tuesday today. What day is it? Monday. Wait, it's Monday the 13th. But yeah, I wanna put some music on. I put some music on last time. Don't we like music in the background? When it's Star Citizen based, I'm okay with it. Tell me if the temperature's too loud. Tell me if the volume's too loud. I have been ill over the last few days. I've got a bad stomach, unable to sort of like concentrate very well, and I've started writing a video. I'll probably get a video out tonight. I'm doing a weekly FAQ series, literally going through a load of questions that are in my comments and on the Reddit and Spectrum, and then questions that people have sent me, and then answer that in a quick format each week. Goes sort of like a shorter, more compressed format of what I do on the stream. But yeah, if people want to talk about anything, question, as I said, we'll go over a few things today more specifically as well. So at some point I want to have a little chat to you about the roadmap. It's more about the Ranger, because I was not expecting a wheeled bike at this stage. I've wanted one for ages. I thought there was a hole for one in the game, and it's good they've filled that hole with an actual series of wheeled bikes, very tiny little bikes as well, but it'll be easy to carry in pretty much any ship. I'm literally looking at the size of them and thinking that could probably have fit in an Avenger Titan, probably. Like, it should get through the door. Like, it's so tiny compared to the Cyclone, the Ranger. Oh, yes. But at the moment, it's all probables and maybes. And what else is it? It's CitizenCon as well I want to talk about. We have a little bit, sort of you're not allowed to say brainstorm anymore, are you? A cold mind water shower. But yeah. It's fun day. I see. It's good choice. I only really like the CV out of the bikes, just because it's got utility. I do want wheeled bike, but I don't see the TR being particularly useful. Have you heard anything about the 300 series and fixing 3.5 up a bit? We know that there's definitely going to be a 3.5.1 patch. We definitely know that there's going to be probably going to be the rest of the 300 series variants going to be in a 3.5 patch. That's what they've planned. There's obviously a lot of problems with 3.5. They are fixing it. They haven't said that they are moving on to the 3.6 build yet with everyone yet. Obviously there's people working on 3.6 and everything, but they haven't sort of like stopped the 3.5 branch yet. They haven't locked that. So until they do, we'll get improvements to it. And obviously there's a lot of problems that they can fix. So CitizenCon in November, we have the Carrack coming and Microtech just after, nearing end of Stanton. You thinking maybe jump points for CitizenCon? I think the jump points for CitizenCon are a strong possibility. Tell me if the music is too loud, by the way, guys. Or anyone. Or girls. I don't know. And maybe there's 1.1% of my audience is woman. So less than one person here, apparently, according to the stats. So yeah, there's some interesting things with CitizenCon being in November. Does that mean that we are going to get a September 3.7? Because, or are they going to hold that back to CitizenCon? If they hold that back to CitizenCon, that's so close to the next patch. Mid-December is typically when the next patch comes out. So there's two options I foresee here. Either, well, a few options. We'll have a 3.7 at the end of September. So like when it's chronologically supposed to be if there was no CitizenCon. Bam. Perfect. Or the only other realistic option I see really is for them to do one less patch and combine, which would be, people would be so pissed, even if it had all of the things that both patches are supposed to have, 3.7 and 3.8. So the only thing I can think they'd do is have a 3.7 patch at the end of September, and CitizenCon won't have a patch release, or maybe it will have a 3.7.5 release. That could make sense, actually, thinking about it. That's very possible. Given the delays to the 300 series variants entering the PU, do you think the 8 to 90 jump will make the cutoff for 3.6? I think it's got a high probability of making the cutoff. You never know until pretty much a week before it releases. I mean, even in PU, they can release extra stuff. In the PTU, oh my god, I confused myself. In the PTU, they can still release more and more stuff. I think so many people want the 890 jump. I think it's got a high likelihood that it will be there, but it needs to be finished. They're not... They might push for things, but they're never going to rush something. If it's not ready, they're not going to release it. Well, what is it good for? It's good for gameplay mechanics. It's good for economies in a lot of situations. It's good for the training of veterans. What do you want from me? I'm not going to sing. Thank you very much. I appreciate the love, Black and Select. Could that fit in the cargo bay of the 300i? I think it could when it's deployed, but not when the cargo bay goes back up into the ship. Unless the bike flat packs more. That'd be hilarious if it could, but I think that once it's inside the ship, there's not enough room. Citation needed. Hey, BoredGamer, I'm new to Star Citizen. Isn't common for a ship to drop out of quantum and not be able to continue on? And where is the fuel indicators? Thank you very much, Calamars, for all the fucking bits. I will read out. Yeah, I'll read your thing out now and then answer that guy. Oops, forgot I actually get to see the stream live today. At least until work interrupts. So I apologise that you actually have to do work. Fuck work, man. Why don't you just stop doing work and just create Star Citizen content all the time? Just report on Star Citizen, mate. Play games. Fucking mind blown, mate. So there's some problems with the quantum drives. If you're in a shitty little fighter with a crappy quantum drive, it will keep on coming out of quantum drive. If it overheats, it will come out of quantum drive. If you get interdicted, interdiction is shown at the top right. You'll work out what the symbol is for interdiction. I can't remember what it fucking looks like. But you will see one that has like a symbol with a, no, you cannot do this, no. You'll see your quantum fuel indicator on the middle of your HUD. Center right, I think, is where it's shown on most ships. Not all of them. That's correct, isn't it? I'm not very good at actually visualizing things in my head, oddly. Try the old workaround for overheating if it was overheating. It depends what ship you're in as well, Vesper. Try lowering the heat in the MFD. So literally hold F, find where the quantum drive is, whatever it's called, and then lower the power on it once you're actually in quantum travel. Will my bikes come with the Bluetooth so I can stream my latest BoredGamer streams? Bluetooth! While riding across the wilderness of planets. It's going to be interesting to see what sort of render to texture and what sort of external integration we can get in Star Citizen with the Moby-Glass and the tech.
Keep it at board.
Thank you very much, Vulcan Cannon. Thank you very much for the resub. Very much appreciated. And thank you again, Delamars, for the bits. I saw them again. And some Dida pledged some money on Patreon. Thank you. Love your face. Appreciate it. Your best guess on how long the Tumbril Ranger will be playable until the Tumbril Ranger will be playable in game. It's going to be... They can get that done pretty quick. They've got the Tumbril pipeline already sorted because we've got the Cyclone in game. They know sort of how ground vehicles are going to work-ish when it comes to wheeled ground vehicles. They're going to want to get it in game so they can test it a bit better as well, so they can get sort of like the physics for the ground vehicles working even better. Very small vehicle, developed pipeline, but you could have it as early as Q1 next year. That's sort of like the earliest best guess that I'd have. More likely Q3 of next year, but you could have it as early as Q1. Be a bit better for the audio. Hey Board, what do you think about balance in the new flight model, projectile velocity, fighter-wise? There's so much they need to do to balance the flight model, PvP versus PvE at the moment. I sort of like, I'm holding out, giving it any form of final judgments or anything. At the moment, I'm not happy with it. The general flight model, I think, has got promise, and it could be pretty good. I can see what they're trying to do with combat, sort of, I think. But there's so many things that need to come together, including getting missiles actually working properly, physicalized components for ships, getting the hover system in, getting stuff balanced for each of the individual hulls and then each of the individual weapons. There's just loads of stuff that needs to come together before it's going to work properly. PvE, though, when the AI is working, the flight model and general fighting's pretty... I find it quite fun. It's not really challenging, though. PvP, at the moment, is just a bit, it's not balanced at all for PvP. There needs to be a load of stuff they need to do. Otherwise, it's just a load of people sort of like spinning around each other very quickly. Is it possible to summon ships from afar, like in Elite Dangerous? I suspect so to some degree. Now, let me clarify that, because they did talk about it recently and say you're not going to be able to summon a ship from one place to another with all its cargo and a loadout and stuff intact. You'd have to like reclaim it insurance-wise. But I suspect in the future you'll be able to pay NPCs or players to transport your ship for you. But instead of transport my ship here. Carry this loot and cargo from here to here for me. And that seems like something very sensible for the service beacon system, because then that's a huge amount of player content. Any idea when they might get VoIP actually working? This tech has been around for decades now. So VoIP is an intermittent issue in Star Citizen, isn't it? VoIP and VoIP. I find VoIP works pretty well. Just not always when other people are watching me. Very good for like a local, and obviously having a local VoIP is ridiculous. It's funny for content creators. VoIP, it's hit and miss. They need to get a load of stuff working for it. I'm not sure why it keeps on breaking and then working. It needs to then start being used by people, I suppose. But I thought they would have it fixed and working fully by now and integrated. It hasn't. Yeah, don't know what to say other than maybe in 3.6. It's always going to be that until they actually focus on it and get it in. And basically the mic can it looks like it can genuinely flat pack by lying on its side, though. Like, you joke about it, but I was reading a message and then someone sent me money. Tublith, hey man, glad I got your stream. Did you read Starship Troopers yet? I haven't. I've got the package. It's in my drawer somewhere. I'm sorry, Toblith. Oh, I'm sorry. I know I need to read it. I know it will give me insight into space fascism. And I will take a look at it. I promise. I promise. What else have we got here? Where was I reading? I was reading someone's question. I was interested in it. Lost it. Glad you're feeling well enough to do a segment. Will you be attending CitizenCon? Yes, the plan is I'm going to CitizenCon. I mean, it's in the UK. I love CitizenCon. I get to interview a load of people as well. What do you think about the Ranger combat variant not having a cargo holder? Well, obviously only the CV was going to have a cargo holder, 1.2 SCU, apparently at the moment. The combat one is focusing on having guns. The racing one is focusing having an extra power plant and probably better at general handling, maneuvering, racing, acceleration, that sort of shit. The CV is the only one I'm interested in, though, for me personally. Free Man U tickets for every CitizenCon attendee. Hang up boards. I've got tubes in my stomach at the moment, and you're helping me take my mind off them. Keep up the good vids, my old China. Yossa, I'm sorry that you've got pipes in your stomach, unless you need them to live. In which case, I'm glad we've got pipes in your stomach that enable you to live. But I'm sorry you don't have a fully functional, non-tubey stomach currently. What will come first? A proper Game of Thrones ending or Star Citizen? We need the proper Game of Thrones ending. Will come in book form. The series had to end some way, because they didn't have the, the full proper ending. They sort of probably made up a load of shit, and they had to end a load of threads as well. They sort of it feels a bit rushed, doesn't it? There's some cool stuff going on in the episodes. It's just sort of a bit weak compared to all of the rest of the previous Game of Thrones. So with the Ranger and the other vehicles, should we expect vehicles to spawn in ships? So, short term, no. Slightly longer term, yes. So what they want to be able to do is either have other ships and vehicles as attachments that you can put in ships, bam, 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 and that spawns with them, or that you can spawn them with that ship. So they want you to be able to do that. And then obviously once, in the future, once something is there, it's physically always there, unless you reclaim it or whatever. And that's the idea from there on. It's wherever you've got the item stored, that is where it is. And something more money. I love you. I love your money as well. Is that again, Toblith? Are you sending me money because I'm need the fucking thing? And the main thing is it will give you a vision of what Star Citizen gameplay should be for infantry, upcoming mech armor and drop pods. Oh yeah, I know they've got those big fucking mech suits, haven't they? Thank you very much. I will genuinely take a look at it. You don't have to keep on sending me money, although I do appreciate your money. Will we be able to steer motorbikes with the mouse? Yeah. Yeah. What else have we got? Wasn't there a point where vehicles could only be CCUable to other vehicles? That's what I was reading earlier. Or was that a fever dream I had? No, that happened. Previously, some of the vehicles have only been CCUable to other vehicles. But with the Ranger sale, it looks like you can upgrade your Ranger to any other ship or vehicle. Well, when those ships and vehicles are available. What else have we got here? Morning, evening, whatever. Thank you very much, Sod White. It is both morning and evening, depending on where you are in the world. So with the Renegade...
9 months paying for scalp grease. Here's to another 9.
Oh, thank you very much. 9 months is a long time, Mantis. Thank you very much. I love your face. Mantis, one of my big donators and lovers of BoredGamer. Thank you. You're a legend. Thank you, Mantis. What else we got? At the recent bar citizen, the other guys admonished me for buying JR Fabrication plastic model. I told them per pound the model is worth a lot more than concept ships. Am I right? I mean, it's a collectible item. It's, you spend your money what you want. I like the GR stuff that they're doing, but I want them to plan a series of ships, and I want them to have sort of like a set sizes. If they're going to do those model sets, I want them to be collectible. I want them to potentially do limited runs. I want them to have a set size. I've collected 40k and Warhammer stuff for most of my life, and I like models, and I'm pretty good at painting. So if they start to produce a proper series, I'm going to be very excited. And I think that you are entitled to do what the fuck you want with your money, T. Truman. To some people, that's going to be a worthless piece of plastic. To other people, that's going to be incredibly valuable. And it's for you, so. Which is my favourite ship weapon for small fighters, size 1 to 3. it massively varies based on whether I'm doing PvE, which is always lasers, just because I fly around, I don't want to have it rearm. I haven't done much meta play in 3.5 as there are so many problems. I've done some PvP and done some stuff that I've felt like it's not as intended. So I haven't really sort of like, this is my favorite weapon. I mean, anything I parrot at you will literally just be the shit I read on Reddit. And it won't be my opinion. It will be sort of like, well, just use these. What do you think we might see server meshing implemented? When do you think we might see server meshing implemented, even in a basic form? We could start to get parts of it this year. The earliest we'd get it would be at the end of this year, server meshing. Well, I mean, they might have done loads of secret work on it. So, but they need server-side object container streaming. They need a load of other general optimizations. And then I suppose the first iteration of server meshing we're going to have is going to be static server meshing, which means that instead of dynamically spinning up and down servers based on the population of an area, and like each object container streaming, each object container stream can, or each object container can be server meshed, can be its own server. The first iteration will just have some set static servers, but multiple servers working together. So you'd have a server for ArcCorp, a server for a Lawville, or whatever. Do you see what I mean? And those are statically there. They could have more solar systems as well with that, or more star systems with that, because they can pass over to other servers. They just don't dynamically spin up and down. I don't know if you already talked about this, but what do you think the Forbes can change some, if any, bad decisions of the development process? Most of those bad development processes that Forbes mentioned were all stuff in the past. Either Chris's past, or the problems that Star Citizen had, mostly pre-2016, for the most part. Things that they talked about as well, they were sort of like, well, they might be running out of money. We don't know that. They said they had 14 million in the bank at the end of 2017. Well, that's still a healthy amount, seeing they make 30 to 45 million a year, or 30 to 40 million a year. I think last year was, well, I don't actually know what last year's figure was. I think it was the best year they've ever had, but previous year was 36 million. So, I mean, and they've had a load more money sent to them, so they can become more efficient. They can become more transparent with some stuff. They can get better with their scheduling. There's stuff like that. I think that to criticize further is hard to do beyond, well, they've done this wrong or this wrong. Well, you can't say that. You can say they've been inefficient. You can say they spent a load of money. You can say Chris used to be a fucking super micromanager, and maybe he is a bit of a micromanager now, but they are making genuine progress now. So I think it all comes down to Squadron 42. Could it be a good game or not? Because even if it's a good game, they can make a lot of money from that. But Star Citizen really needs to be Squadron 42 really needs to be a great game with an amazing flight model and really good combat for people to get really into Star Citizen. Question: in-game prices, Cyclones and Dragonflies are currently 26k and 70k. Likely to stay similar or increase in the future. They might get rebalanced, and then eventually we're going to have a dynamic economy, so they will change in prices. However, they did say when they priced those that they wanted them to be as close to the final figures as they envisioned as possible. Almost exactly. It's paraphrasing slightly. Would you prefer them cheaper or more expensive? I want them balanced. I don't give a fuck if they're cheap or expensive. I want them balanced for their use, but they'll get free market balanced to an extent. Did you ever get verification from CIG? No, I haven't. I'll look through my thingamajig list again, and I'll poke people again. What happened to the down satellite mission that was supposed to be PvP? Still PvP. So you've got the down satellite mission, and you've got the Twitch Pacheco mission. You've got some other missions as well that can elude or sort of like force players to be slightly more PvP. The down satellite mission is some people, or a person will get a mission to go and find literally a graphics card, an AI blade thing, prototype blade, and they have to go and steal it, and they have to bring it back to Clover Star Lady. And then some lawful players will have to go and destroy the AI blade. They're literally trying to find the same item, and they have to go there to destroy it. And the idea is that you have PvP because of that. And then there's the Twitch Pacheco mission, which has some people going in to get drugs, get the maze, and any other drugs they want on a ship, and then get it back to Twitch Pacheco. But she only wants the maze. But you can actually sell that maze, I found out recently. I've never actually tried. I think it's worth 2,400 LPVC at Grimhex. But Grimhex, you can sell it. Maybe it's at the rest stop. Citation needed for that as well. I'll check again in a second. I've got that written down, all the locations. But yeah, the Twitch Pacheco mission has another group of people going to the same house where the maze is, the mission package for the other people, and trying to destroy the drugs. And people can work together, but it ends up often to be a lot of PvP. Sorry, I forgot. I bought a game package a few years ago. How solid it is at least beta will be out mid-2020. Beta for Squadron 42 mid-2020 is possible. A beta for Star Citizen, no. Star Citizen needs more star systems and more gameplay mechanics and server meshing and a load of other stuff to come together before it's even considered a beta. You may have a more playable alpha by mid-2020 with Star Citizen. You may even be closer to no more or less resets with the major releases. I'm going to be using the 890 jump as my social vessel. What if / if you think... Oh my god, I can't read today. I'm so sorry. I'm going to be using the 890 jump as a social vessel. What / if do you think... When do you think they will be bringing in ship music for the main decks and other entertainment? I want a space club. I don't know. Music's an interesting one, because maybe they could have it so people could play whatever music they want in game. I suppose you could technically do that for VoIP anyway, but then does that enabling that as a thing? Does that mean they have opened up to copyright issues? Oh, Jesus!
Been enjoying your content over the past few months since returning to SC.
Vampirist, thank you very much. I'm glad you've been enjoying my content and you've chucked me a load of money. Thank you very much appreciated. I've been slightly burnt out recently with Star Citizen content, just because I've been ill, tired. Got a lot of. I was super depressed recently and just got over it. But yeah, then I was ill and I was like, oh, I just need a day off. I sort of tried to have a day off yesterday, but it was an ill day rather than a proper day off. I wish they had calling with devs back on Mondays. I used to really look forward to that. But yeah, I'm enjoying Star Citizen and everything. I just need a day off just to, I don't know, sleep in a freezer. It's really fucking hot in my house as well. Oh, want to do all day. When do you think we'll have more mission types and fix the waypoints that still don't work for service beacons? So they've been trying to put hotfixes in for service beacons. I suspect we'll have those waypoints working for a 3.5 branch patch, if not this week, sort of thing. That's definitely a priority for them. More mission types, every single major release, with 3.8 with the dynamic mission system. Well, there's two parts of the dynamic mission system coming on the roadmap currently, although I suspect there's lots of other sub-module pieces. Let me bring this up for you. So for 3.8 December, that's what we're assuming, or end of Q4, we've got the dynamic mission system, economy generated missions. So there should be more and more modular parts of missions, which will then go into this system and then generate missions based on economic and other mission needs. And then we've also got some additions that we're going to keep on getting from quarter to quarter with that mission generation system. So with long quantum travel routes in 3.9 mission generation, and we'll start to see other missions being chucked at us when we're in certain parts of space, get quantum interdicted as part of a mission, get other interesting mission type things happen to us as part of that modular system. Going to be using my... we talked about that. Board, you should write a book about the development of Star Citizen and the growth of the community. When the game comes out, maybe I will write a giant article on my experiences of that. I'll wait until the game's out, though. Hey, Board, did you check the latest PC games hardware video about 3.5? They tested it with a Ryzen 26X 4K and could only get 21 frames max. This is ridiculous. Well, at 4K, I get more than that, and I don't have a 28 Ti. I get over 40 frames in 4K. And I don't... what's the Ryzen 2600S? So Star Citizen does have problems with some AMD processors. I'm not sure if that processor was going to be appropriate. I don't know. I'd need to research. It could have a problem or a bug with it. But I get 80 to 90 frames typically while flying around the verse in 1440p. In 4K, I get 50 to 60. And then obviously when it's in a more aggressive area, then it drops down to 40. You can look at my videos for proof of that. Yeah, so that should change though. I suspect that they will start to scale a lot better, those AMD processors, once we have Vulkan support and stuff like that in-game. Wasn't there a point where vehicles could only be CCU'd to other vehicles? We talked about that earlier. Yes, that was not a fever dream, that was a thing. But now with the Ranger, you can CCU up. What happened to the X1 bike? Should be in-game already. No, it shouldn't be in-game already. It's part of the Origin pipeline. I believe they're finishing the 890 jump. Then they're going to do some touch-ups to the 600. And then I believe the X1 will be done after that. Have you had any issues with player character render distance? I did a mission with some guys last week and had an issue where player models just popped into existence. I've had it when going through doorways and things. There's like portal culling occurs. So when there's something in the way and it sort of like tries to cull it, stuff can pop into existence. Do they state if they'll be fixing stuff like missing HUDs on the Constellation Andromeda? I'm not specifically sure about the Andromeda. Obviously, if it's a bug, they'll fix it at some point. HUDs and UIs are being entirely remade for the game, basically, at the moment. And they want a whole new UI and HUD experience, sort of like a finalized one. I'm going to be... We've talked about that. Will planets eventually revolve around their star in Star Citizen? Yes, that is still a plan. Revolving and then rotating. Do you think they should be focusing on fundamental mechanisms or mechanics of this game that make up the jobs, skills, trade, crafting, such as science, scavenging, repair, and medical? I mean, they need to be keeping them in mind while they're building the core mechanics, and that is the core gameplay that you've just mentioned. So science, scavenging, repair, medical, trade, all those sort of like job roles, they're all the core mechanics that will make the game fun and playable and people want to play it. So they need to focus on them at some point. But they also need to get those core mechanics and Squadron 42 out. So after they have Squadron 42 out, what I would like to see is finishing of server tech, more gameplay area and systems, and all of those core gameplay, well, all of those gameplay roles, systems, jobs. They're so crucially important for the game. Any idea why we can't buy the Aopoa Katual? I didn't think it was a... I didn't realise it was a restricted ship. Are you excited for the Carrack to be in game, and how good do you think it'll be? So I think that the Carrack is going to be sort of like a standard upgrade path to a lot of people before they get a capital ship. If you want top tier exploration, almost always the Carrack's going to be the best bet. Not always. There might be some exploration and science are going to have a bit of a crossover, and the Endeavour's going to cross over into that area as well, and the Endeavour's going to be a very suitable science and exploration ship. But the Carrack, for sort of like all things high/top tier exploration, is going to be superb. The fact it can have 6 crew and run at full efficiency, and it's got basically all of the mod cons that you'd want. It's even got a medical bay, and it's got drones, and it's got this a good amount of firepower. It's basically a really compressed capital ship Corvette type thing. So I think it's going to be so easy to run compared to a capital ship. So I think it's going to be very, very, very popular, and a lot of people will sort of like, it'll be their go-to ship in a lot of situations for missions in general. It's got cargo space. It's got the ability to have that's Pisces snub. It's got a vehicle. It's got everything you need. Have you thought about doing a cinematic camera control videography kind of video? There are many things I would see people doing with the cameras that I can't figure out. Okay, you want me to? Maybe when Zin's working for me, I'll probably get hired to learn how to do the camera better than I can. What army do I play on 40k? I've done loads of 30k heresy events back in the day, and I used to do custodes, and orcs. Gene Stealer, pre-Gene Stealer cults. I did Gene Stealer army just when it was Trinids. I think I probably prefer orcs. Will the Heartseeker ever be for sale again? Probably a one-time thing, although they might sell it every Valentine's Day for all we know. Most people that I've talked to about having the Heartseeker have said they think it's shit. So obviously that's because the way fixed weapons and ships work at the moment in the flight model, so bear that in mind. Never a fan of the Tau. Do we have any details about ship customization and loadouts and paint? And will we be able to give new paint jobs to ships that we already own? So, okay. We know that they want to put in, with the new 300 series variants, a way of customizing those ships on the website. I suspect they will also propagate that to other ships. Eventually, however, you will be able to customize your ships in-game with paint jobs and all that sort of jazz. That was the plan anyway from quite a while ago. They actually had that system already able to do it. So that we can customize at least the paint jobs pretty easily in-game. Obviously loadouts we already have. But yeah, we should be able to do that on the website in the short term with at least the 300 series, probably everything eventually, and then in-game with in-game money. Do you remember that old article the Escapist published a few years ago, citing anonymous sources? Yes. I also remember that a lot of the anonymous sources they were using were from Glassdoor, or it appeared to be from Glassdoor, and they hadn't really done much fact-checking, and it was sort of like, that was a sloppy piece, definitely, which is why CIG had them remove it. The Forbes article might be entirely accurate when it comes to some of its sort of like, we talked to these people and they said he was a micromanager. We talked to Chris's wife, got a restraining order on him, and they've had problems in the past 12 years ago, whatever. Yeah, that might be true. Doesn't have much bearing on the project today. Might have originally, might have been really inefficient. I suspect they were pretty inefficient Star Citizen, but suspect Chris was a terrible micromanager. But I do think they've reined it in a lot. And I think there's been a load of improvements. Game's going down? That's not a very nice thing to say about the game, Mark Dice. Would you like to elaborate? Or is it just you think it's a scam and you think it's poorly managed and you read a Forbes article? It's fine. You're allowed to have that opinion. You expect the Rangers to fit in a 300i? So the 300 series had the cargo elevator that goes beep, beep. So I'm not sure. If it flies flat, then maybe, but I'm not really sure how much. I mean, there is enough room to crouch in there, isn't there? Maybe. I was hoping that maybe the bike will flat pack further properly. Do you think Squadron 42 will be out this year? No. no, at the earliest next year. They've got a planned beta. You can actually look at the Squadron 42 roadmap, which I will do now quickly. Got a Ryzen up on my screen. You can look on the Squadron 42 roadmap. You can see that the current plan is to have a beta end of Q2, so end of June 2020. That might change, might get pushed back further. That would suggest to me that they want to have the game released in 2020 as well, if possible. What's the next tactical advance of Star Citizen? Server meshing, Vulkan support. Those are the two main ones I can think of off the top of my head. And probably the only ones they're desperately needing that are literally bottlenecking the game. Bear with me 1 second, I lost my place. Found my place. Any more news on the 890 jump? Like weapon sizes? Nope. What ships can it carry? We don't know until we actually see it. They have not said much. That is true. You think that I've gone through the process of going bald and then I'll start to grow hair again before the game comes out? Maybe they will have those de-aging pills and hair growth pills. Think about that, man. What's about you? No, it's just I'm just tired. I'm just tired and I've been ill. That's all it is. I'm drinking so much fucking water. And make sure you get enough water, sleep, and sunlight. They're underrated for mental health. I do not get enough sunlight, but I do take vitamin D supplements. I will try and get out of the house a little bit more. Do you think they will concept a true dedicated electronic warfare E-warship? Yes. I mean, it makes sense they have a dedicated E-warship eventually. Canuck, when you're capped at 30 frames, is that because you've got VSync on, or you've got G-Sync or something like that turned on? Then that makes sense that you're capped at 30. Like a hard 30 as well. Do you agree with Forbes that CIG are down to the last 20 million? That's not what they said at all. They said in 2017 they were down to 14 million in the bank, according to their thing. That would have been purely based on their financing of the game, though. So there might be healthy cash reserves from other sources, including Chris's own fucking wallet, or any other investors they had. But also they definitely have an additional 46 million. And last year was their best year ever by a significant margin. So I suspect they have in the bank 60 to 80 million at the moment. 55 to 80 million. Probably bring that range in a bit more. Yeah, they've got 20 million in the bank. 50 to 55 million sort of thing, with that $46 million cash injection. And when they release Squadron 42, when they start taking genuine pre-orders for Squadron 42 with a release date, then I think they'll make a lot more money. And when the game actually goes live, they'll make a fuckload of money. That's all they need to get to. And then they probably don't need to sell ships anymore, but they fucking will, because they want to make money. Will we ever see watercraft, surface or submarine? So they've been working on water buoyancy. They've talked a little bit about having the underwater accessible in some way, and they've previously talked about them wanting to have boats. So yes, but the plan was yes. Ranger this year? Possible, but unlikely. Claimed that CIG have a burn rate of 3 million a month. That's good, because they make 36 million. Good. That seems about right. And they are, so one of the other things is that they are trying to spend the money they get for development. That might not be particularly efficiently done, but that's what they're trying to do. They're not having huge cash stockpiles. And they said they wanted to spend the money on development, and they're sort of like, they are showing they're doing that. And people can certainly disagree with that choice and go, no, we should have built it up, get some huge cash reserves on the go, while also getting the game, and maybe just release something a bit earlier as well. That's based on the financials, but the financials stopped before the $46 million investment for Squadron 42. So that's apparently earmarked for advertising. I swear to fucking God, they give that load of money to YouTubers and don't give any fucking money to me. That $46 million to advertise their fucking game. I'll go spare. Lol. Is Star Citizen playable in VR? Only at the moment if you bodge it using Vorpix or something like that. They do want to have VR in the game. That's the plan. They need Vulkan support first. I have no idea when we're going to get VR for the game. I suspect we'll see it much earlier in Squadron 42, as it's a single-player experience, than we would in Star Citizen. Polaris as military/combat flavoured exploration ship. I don't know what the sort of like operating range of the Polaris is, but I suspect it's pretty long, pretty good. I don't know what scanners and stuff are going to be like, but I mean it's got a place for a fighter to dock and undock, so I suspect it will be pretty good for exploration and mission, and it can be combat flavoured. I think it's going to be pretty multi-role. You know when the Cutlass Blue will be put in game? Yes. Uh, 3.8. So December of this year. That's the plan. Battery fog. Fog tech was delayed for 3.7. Is that related to volumetric clouds in planets? Potentially to some degree. So we've got layered fog tech, we've got cloud tech, we've got dynamic weather, we've got other cloud and mist and whatever smoky tech that they're doing. And they're all sort of like, some of them are slightly related to each other, or use similar effects or whatever, or use similar processes, but they're all sort of like their own monsters. Already talked about that Fennec F1, maybe you asked that before I'd got to there. That's quite possible, actually. Have we ever seen the Dragonfly in its packed compact mode? No, we haven't seen the Dragonfly beyond its sort of like... No, we haven't, other than when it's in a box. The Super Hornet is so much better than the Hornet, it's unreal. Since hydroponics will likely in-game. Since hydroponics will likely in-game, do you reckon people will be able to manufacture drugs, like local security or bandits, and raid you or demand protection money? I like cats. I love your name. Always have. They did say that one of the things the Endeavour could potentially do would be manufacture of drugs or whatever. We might see drug labs and stuff in game that actually are a bit more dynamic than the sort of like storehouses we have. So to some degree I suspect there will be manufacture, but they haven't really talked too much about it beyond the Endeavour will probably be able to do this, or in your outposts you might be able to do some things like this, but again I don't think it's a fully developed idea from them even. Which will happen first, Squadron 42 or Brexit? The greatest question ever asked. I'm unsure on either. I'm sure Theresa May is as well on both. Do I have Discord? Yes. Discord.gg/BoredGamer. No politics on my good Christian gamer stream, and a lovely re there as well. I'm Christian, actually. I mean, I will never talk much about my religion or anything. I've brought up Protestant, which means I drink tea and eat cake while going, yeah, there's probably a God. Right? Nice casual religion for the modern day. Fundraising is enough for $1 billion of development. Yeah, easily. I mean, Star Citizen seems to be making more and more each year.
WTF.
Oh, Raging Sage, thank you very much. WTF indeed. Love your fucking face. Just seeing Vampirist's money again. I love you so much, Vampirist. Are we getting helicopters? Not that I am aware of in any way, shape, or form. They've got hover tech. But, okay, they do have little fans on things like the Aurora, where it's sort of like, will give you a lift. But, yeah, no helicopters. Will CIG move if Brexit goes through? No, the UK government will still give a big tax break for gaming companies in the UK. It will affect CIG and their offices in some way. Whether that's just going to be the free movement of people, whether that's going to be some form of financial tax hit, even if it's minor. It will affect them in some way. It's nothing to be terribly worried about. Businesses will survive Brexit. Anyone else have the problem in game? We start off in your bed, you get up and go to your ship and get inside the game, and it closes, and you end up back in your bed like a fucking loop. So, unfortunately, that's where it will spawn you if you die or disconnect. However, if you do, the game does close, you should be able to launch the game again, and it will ask you on the menu screen, do you want to rejoin the instance you were last in? And you can just press left bracket, I believe. Hope it's not right bracket, left bracket, and it will take you back into game. An interesting thing with Star Citizen and the way they've developed the game, because it toes the line of, well, maybe it toes the line. You get game companies which don't push releases because they've got enough money, and they sort of like super relaxed. Valve is a perfect example of that. They haven't had Half-Life 3 because they've been super relaxed. They don't give a fuck about it. They're like, well, we'll get it out when it's ready, if they ever want to do it. So like, yeah, we'll do games at some point. They sort of like, it retreated from being a game company because they had so much money. They didn't need to. They can just generate money from their platform product. And then you've got shit games that are just pushed out every year because they're just sort of like, that's what the game company does. Bam, bam, bam. New game, new game, new game, new game, new game. And you get that with like Battlefield and Video Heroes. Call of Duty. Oh my god, I forgot what the fucking series of games was called. You get that sort of stuff. So those are the two extremes on the scale, and Star Citizen is probably more toward, well, it's interesting actually, probably Star Citizen's, I don't really know where it's on the scale anymore because it's releasing products every 3 months, or a major patch, even if I don't think those patches are ready, even if I don't know if that's a particularly good idea, and they're also waiting and taking a long time to actually release a full product. That's an interesting one. Do you sell any ships? I don't sell any ships, no. When the game has full persistence and no more resets, I'll sell ships in-game for in-game money. I think that changed the way games are developed now. Was PayPal worth development? This is the type of question to ask about Star Citizen. Yeah, we need Star Citizen to actually come out as a successful product, though. It's a successful development, getting developed. It's development as a service. It's a weird thing. If it comes out and it's successful, fucking great. It'll be a very good success story. The other thing is roadmaps as a service, and roadmaps. Lots of companies have stolen the way, I say stolen, mirrored the way Star Citizen does their roadmap now. However, that is causing companies that fail to meet those roadmaps or have no intention of hitting those roadmaps to like muddy the waters. Last solar system being game. Yes, that's what it looks like. Never say yes until it is. Maybe the jump point might get cut off, or it might get overrun by Vandal and blow up in a supernova or something. Hi, BoredGamer. Can you explain to me the difference between exploration ships versus expedition ships? From what I've gather from expedition is literally just traveling as far as you can go out. Whereas exploration might be looking at particular anomalies, going onto a planet, trying to track down things. Whereas expedition would be, can it go super far? What happened to the sandworms? They still want to have the sandworms in game. They are at least on Layer 3. Layer 3 is not in game yet. The Layer system's not in game yet. We will start to see animals in game at some point. Will Brexit have any influence on the development? Yeah, I mean, it could affect people's wages, could affect their employment practices, could affect the free movement of people between the Frankfurt and UK studios, things like that. I mean, it can have an influence. It can affect fundraising to an extent. Might only be very minor, but it will still have an effect. What should I know about Star Citizen that I don't know already? All I've done is watched a few YouTube videos, and this game piqued my interest, but I'd like to know more. Okay, Fennec. So we've got Star Citizen, the Persistent Universe, which is the multiplayer MMO aspect of the game. That's what it will eventually be. At the moment, it is just a series of every 3 months you get an update to it, and it's sort of like a non-persistent universe where you jump into a server and you sort of like experience a vertical slice of what some of the gameplay might be like in the future. Thank you very much, Dalamars. Love your face. Thanks very much for the bits. And then you've got Squadron 42. Now, Squadron 42 is the single-player Star Citizen universe-based game. It's in the same universe, but it's a single-player cinematic experience, and that is coming out significantly sooner than Star Citizen is. Star Citizen is released in an alpha form every 3 months with an update. So it gets another update every 3 months. Wham, bam. Some of these patches are super buggy. Some of them are great. Some of them are just all tech demo or whatever, however you want to discuss them or talk about them. But the idea is that Star Citizen and its MMO is, at the moment, all about giving you feedback about gameplay mechanics, gameplay loops, bugs, and that sort of stuff. It is not a hold your hand game. It's not a fleshed out game. There's no full persistence yet or anything. It keeps on resetting your progress. So if you like the idea of being involved in the project and having your say, Star Citizen is great at the moment. If you are okay finding your own fun in game and joining an org, there's some massive orgs out there and some small orgs out there, organizations that will all help you have a load of fun. And they like arrange their own events and arrange their own silly things to do in game, because there's a huge amount to do sandbox in game, and there's silly things you can do like Hunger Games type stuff and races and giant fleet battles and stuff, because there's some pretty cool stuff in game already. Then getting all organization and play now. However, Star Citizen is not ready for mainstream, and it's not a hold your hand game. There's no in-game tutorials. It's pretty rough for that sort of stuff, so you'll have to watch more YouTube videos. And Squadron 42, however, that's going to eventually be out next year, and that should be pretty cool. But if you like the idea of Star Citizen, but don't like the idea of being involved at the project at this stage, wait for a while. Potentially pick up Squadron 42. They're both $45 each at the moment, I believe. And all the ships will be available in game eventually. All you need is a starter pack to get involved with Star Citizen, the MMO. So pick up a Mustang Alpha, and you'll have a choice of 2 packages. The Aurora, which I don't think is as good as the Mustang Alpha, which I do think is better. Is it slated to implement survival game mechanics in the PU? Yes. Potentially, the earliest we'd have that is 3.7, I believe, with the... I mean 3.8. Let me just check. Bear with me. I mean 3.8, it must have changed recently within the last couple of weeks in the roadmap. So in 3.8, we've got the player status system. And the player status system allows us to have thirst, hunger, rest, inebriation, hygiene, and temperature tracked, in addition to oxygen, stamina, and health. But then we can start to have the light survival mechanics, but they should only be pretty light. It's not going to be, you have to eat every hour, otherwise you're dead. It should be, you need to eat every quite a long time or drink every so often, otherwise you get debuffs. Might be if you don't wash and eat or drink for huge periods of time, maybe you do die, but will start to lose health or something. I suspect that washing and that washing and relieving yourself and that sort of stuff is all under rest. Do you think the multi-crew role AI stuff on the roadmap is a precursor to hiring AI crews? Yes. But we don't know how far AI crews are and NPC crews are off that. And might be huge. I think it's a prerequisite for AI crews, but there's a lot of other stuff potentially. Do you think the Ranger cargo will be a good smuggling vehicle getting contraband past customs? Yes, I actually do. So I think on some planets, landing somewhere, using a vehicle to drive to a different gate, I think some gates may have less customs or maybe have like changes of shifts or things that you can do to be able to get drugs into a city. Where are we with dynamic weather? So it depends when you talk, who you talk to. So I've talked to multiple people about this. It's either being worked on and off by a dev that's working on something else in his spare time, or it's on the backlog to be completed, but it's quite high up on the backlog. So we'll get it at some point soonish. But that could be a year. With CIG admitting that the servers are struggling with ArcCorp content, do you think that server object container streaming will be coming in before or with the next planet content? It has to. There's no way they can fit any more stuff in without more server optimizations, like server-side object container streaming. Sorry, my mouth's getting a bit unable to talk. I apologize. Unlimited bacon or video games? Video games. I like bacon, but I've got really high cholesterol and I need to lower mine, so I need to have less bacon. I know, it's terrible. I see they have detail enough to have trash laying around and parts of the station tagged with spray paint. Do you think we'll see a lot? Do you think we'll see lot lizards hopping from planet to planet? Do you think we'll see lot lizards hopping from landing pad to landing pad? What is a lot lizard? Is that like a little lizardy thing? Is that what it sounds like? I don't know what a lot lizard is. I don't know what it is. It's I'm getting pictures of a lot of truckers and scantily clad women. Oh, is it women of the... Oh. Oh. But I don't know. We don't have them in this country. Okay, well. Not a term we use in the UK. Why aren't my missiles working with Aurora? I mean, they should be firing at least. You should be able to lock on and then fire. But missiles aren't particularly great at the moment. They're not working properly. Wouldn't the ability to solo shipping game be a boost to gameplay? Yes, because they could test the economy better. Definitely. And it gets reset anyway, so. Subsumption, hot or not? Hot, I mean, we need it for the game economy, we need it for mission generation, we need it for anything that's generated in the game that's not a fixed thing. So it's incredibly important. When we have NPCs for hire, we don't know. There's lots of tech that's coming along for that. It'll be after Squadron 42's release at some point, because they've got to get all of the tech in for the NPCs and the AI. Can you do trade loops like in Elite Dangerous, where you buy something from one station and sell it to another one for more? Yes, you can do that now. Do that now in game. Some of the major gameplay loops that you can do in game now. Mining, although mining was a bit buggy recently, but it was the most polished gameplay loop. Hauling, And then there's various mission types, from combat to racing to exploration, investigation rather than exploration, like patrols and combat stuff, delivery missions. Pretty basic, but why are NPCs so bad in battles? Wouldn't it be easy just to make them shoot a bit more? Yeah, so they're not as awful as they used to be. In the more recent patches, when the servers aren't overburdened. But yeah, they're still trash at the moment. They're not challenging at all. They'll tweak that. Yes, yeah, so Star Citizen is a massively multiplayer online game. Well, it will be. It's not at the moment. It's a demo of an MMO. Guillemar is going to be moved to its home system. Was that the prior system? It's the Nix system. With recent development, new videos of what road chasing can actually do, when do you think they will implement the tech? They'll check to see if it's relevant and sensible for them to implement, if and when they do. Like, they talked about it a while ago and they said they weren't looking at doing it in particular, but it's something they could do in the future. Will there be any religious themes in games similar to 40k? Organizations might have some. There might be some in lore eventually, although they've sort of like kept reasonably clear of religion in general. Some of the alien races or some of the subsects of the aliens we meet might be religious. What do you speculate will be key topics discussed, announced at CitizenCon? Okay. So there's lots of stuff they could potentially do at CitizenCon, but we'll almost certainly have a new ship sale, or they'll put the Titan suits on sale, something like that. That kind of makes sense. Because that will make them a lot of money. The Titan suits are like the little mechs. They're more like Iron Man suits. What else have we got? I'd like to see animals, but I suspect we'll potentially see a Squadron 42 vertical slice, a new one. I suspect we'll see something like a release date for Squadron 42, planned release date. Probably see some gameplay loops of the next stuff for the next patch. I'd like to see new systems and jump points. That's one of the things I'm really looking forward to if they can do that. But we'll probably see some stuff from the future patches they already have planned. There's a lot they could do at CitizenCon, but jump points, animals, aliens, anything like that. Oh, that'd be fucking superb. NPCs are bad right now because the coding's still being written. That's also true. Sorry. I mean, they could sort of like write them to be at least engaged with you. But I suppose in the multiplayer aspect, it's a lot harder to do that. But yeah, they are still writing the AI for a load of them. Lifetime insurance. Any more info on how beneficial it will be? No, we don't know. We'll have some benefit, but we don't know how much. I'd like to think of all other games that would be much better as minigames than Star Citizen. Grand Theft Starships, Unknown's Battle Moon, Sim City Station Planet, Civ Citizen. What would your favourite adoption be, or adaptation? Grand Theft Starship sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? Like GTA 5? Get some more. I quite like action gameplay, but I like the choice of action gameplay and slow, chilled out. Oh, like Rust Citizen. Like I like Rust. I like building bases, and I like raiding bases, and I like gathering resources. Does anyone know when we'll get a quality of life update patch? Too many broken loops. For the craziest reasons. Yeah, I mean they're working on them at the moment. I think we're very close to a 3.5.1 patch. There's a load of improvements they need to do. They've been putting hotfixes out. Obviously, more they still need to do. How is exploration going to be profitable? Find any rare spots and resources, sell them to players, or is it more to do? Selling information, so mapping information, finding locations, surveying, so you can literally survey asteroids and land to see what's there. There might be information on sort of like scientific data, so if you find an anomaly, that sort of stuff. Obviously any resource spots. Mission-based. There might be missions to go and find out things. There might be loot and salvage. There's quite a lot it could be, and it's sort of like semi-planned to, but it's going to cross over into all the other sort of like elements of the game, especially science. With overheating and misfires, is every ship in the game going to be like my old car and always breaking down? If you're running low-tier civilian components, quite possibly. However, if you've got good components, you're managing them and cleaning them regularly, you should be fine. Like, your ship will occasionally break down, but very rarely. You just need to make sure that your components get damaged in a fight, if you're using them a lot, if you're overclocking them a lot, whatever, you need to make sure that you're maintaining them. And there's going to be sub-components that you can put in and change for these components, for these systems. There's also going to be the ability to go places and have them repaired. Obviously, one of the ideas is that when we have physicalized components properly, you're going to be damaging components rather than a ship's health pool. So that's going to cause a lot of wear to a system, or actually destroy it if it gets hit. So. I think you're never more fuzzy. Do a video of ship destruction and what we can break. Yeah, I can. Thing is that we can't. At the moment, ship destruction's not done properly. Like, we don't have physical damage. We don't have physicalized components. We don't have the breaking of ships in the way that they want them for all the ships yet. I can. There's some pretty stuff. Some cool death flourishes. There's some big explosions. Heard in one of the around the verses there wasn't going to be hunger and thirst. So there's not going to be, I believe, hard hunger and thirst meters and gauges beyond the fact. Well, there probably is now, thinking about it, because it will track. It's just data being tracked. But you shouldn't be forced to eat and drink like super regularly or anything. It's something I believe there's going to be light survival mechanics. If you don't rest, eat, drink, or whatever, then you become less efficient effectively. You get debuffs. I don't think it will kill you, although if you do it for a huge amount of time, maybe it will start to drain your health or whatever. NPCs are going to need to eat, drink, and all that sort of stuff as well. And if they can't, then they become less efficient. How are things, you beautiful bastard? Games Cafe, I'm doing all right. Thanks. It's doing good. I feel a bit better now. I had a really bad time over the last couple of days. A lot better today. And when I've done with the stream, I'm going to drink just like 2 pints of water, have a little lie down, and then I'm going to do an FAQ. I've been told that Squadron 42 is a base storyline and then continues into Star Citizen. Is that correct? Do you know if there will be micro stories in Star Citizen? So Squadron 42 episode 1, 2, and I believe 3 are all set for the Star Citizen persistent universe. Yeah? So after that, that's when there might have been some time passed, and then you're in the Star Citizen persistent universe. You can have the same character if you want, and even if you have a persistent universe character and then go and play those games, it will retroactively fill in a diary that you'd have in the Star Citizen universe as well, and give you access to potentially some military gear and things like that, and some people that you could then talk to or get missions off or whatever. So yeah, it does continue into Star Citizen. We're not entirely sure how the story is going to change from from episode to episode. BoredGamer, instead of Ahmed, take some red rice yeast extract and natural lipitor. I'll check it out. Lots of people typing prostitute into my Oh my god, there's just a wall of it. Will running a business in-game be a real job? Will running a business in-game as a real job surprise you if it emerges? I mean, that will definitely be a role in-game. Like, you can run outposts, you can run mining, whatever. What do you mean? Yeah, I can look at ship destruction. I can look at what ship destruction and destruction in game is now. I can look at what they plan for it to be. I thought the Tumbril Ranger 3-pack for lifetime. I bought the Tumbril Ranger 3-pack for lifetime insurance and tokens. Am I able to make and upgrade ships later, or would that just melt the whole pack? You can individually upgrade any of those Rangers in there with the CC upgrade. You can't individually melt them. If you melt them, you melt the whole pack. Do I think we're going to have waterfalls? I suspect we'll have waterfalls eventually. I don't know when. Do you think they'll ever implement games to download and play on your Mobilglass, like Solitaire? I think there's a lot of possibility with the Mobilglass. If they open it up to the community, and then sort of like vet lots of stuff, and then vet mods that people put onto it or things, then I think we could have an amazing thing with the Mobilglass. I suspect there'll be silly things like Solitaire or whatever. There's a possibility they could open up the source so other people could make Mobilglass apps, and I hope they do. Do I think a Ranger could fit in a Warden? Yeah, the new ones, it looks like they possibly could. When will ship salvage be in-game? I believe ship salvage is currently planned for 3.8. Yeah, that's Q4 of this year. When are they going to fix 3.5? I mean, they're working on it. I don't know how much they're going to fix of it. Obviously, we need that a 3.5.1 patch. They are putting hotfixes in. There are problems. I don't know when they're going to get them fixed or how many are going to get fixed when, but they do seem to be trying to do something. So hopefully we'll have more fixes this week. How about a weapon comparison at preset ranges? We can look at that. So Nevermore Fuzzy, thank you very much for sending lots of money to me. Appreciate it. So yeah, we can look at weapon comparisons at preset ranges. However, there are problems with weapons at the moment. Like they're not balanced properly. The flight model's not great at the moment because it needs a load of tweaking and everything. There's problems with weapon convergence. Fixed weapons have problems as well. You could do some workarounds to get them working a lot better. I could do something like that. We could do some meta videos. However, I'm not sure in 3.5 at the moment whether or not they'll be that informative to what you can do. We can look at it though. I'm happy to do that. What level of character customization will be in the game? Sorry for all the questions. No, that's what literally we're supposed to have. So at the moment, we can only change very few features on our guys. We only have a few heads to choose from and a few features, and then we sort of like blend those features and heads together. In the future, there's going to be loads and loads and loads more. We know that we're going to have a huge amount of access to change our faces, but we don't know, or at least they've basically said we're not 100% sure of what sort of different body types we will have, if any at all. They originally said no different body types because we need the metrics to stay the same. And then they said, well, maybe we could have tubbier bodies and that sort of stuff. But definitely huge amount of facial, probably make any face that you want in the real world with the system eventually. The idea is that you blend heads and features together and then tweak them. Will the UEE have jails for bad boys, or will the justice system just be on site? They want to have a range of illegal and outlaw and gameplay and that sort of stuff. They want to have bounties and bounty huntings. They wanted to have jails. They talked about that. And there'd be ways so that you could get out by paying fines or by doing gameplay in there and that sort of stuff. So they've talked about that. We just don't know what the final decision on here that is. And it's a lot with Star Citizen. We don't know for sure what route they're going down. They did talk about jails and the law system though. Hey man, been looking into the game, but I've been getting some mixed info on the game. When you play the game, what do you usually do? When you play, is there any issue with glitches? Yes, many issues with glitches. Star Citizen is certainly a glitchy, buggy game at the moment. It's in alpha state, and this is sort of like an open alpha. So it's not open alpha, it's closed alpha because you have to be a backer. But every 3 months they release a major update to the alpha, and it's all about playing the gameplay that's there, giving feedback on that, testing out chips and things, trying to work out, help with balance, help with bug fixes, having your say on the game as it evolves and develops. It is not a sit down and play game by any means yet. It's very sandbox, doesn't hold your hand, there's not enough gameplay loops, there's loads of problems with it. It is very early stages when it comes to actual gameplay mechanics. The core is just about getting there now with everything. But there's loads of improvements they still need to make to that. But if you look at it and you love the idea of it and you're like, yeah, actually, I don't mind doing those things at the moment. I understand it's not a fleshed out experience by any means. Get into a guild, get into an organization, because they will organize events very regularly and make very good use and leverage that sandbox gameplay so you can have a lot of fun. Hey Board, 3.5 has so many issues. Do you think the community should hold CIG more accountable for the broken state of 3.5 with issues like pips and getting trapped on ArcCorp? How do you suggest we hold them any more accountable than talking about the problems that we have with those things? Like, we say these things don't work. And we give them feedback on that, and we try and get them fixed. That is how I hold them accountable. And if someone can tell me a better way of holding CIG accountable that's not ridiculous, I will criticize them for not having things done correctly. But saying that, should we hold them to account more? What do you mean by that? How do you mean? Like, and to what extent? Like, should we not give them as much money? Well, yeah. Only buy stuff that you're comfortable with. Only buy a starter package if you're interested in testing the game as it is a buggy mess or whatever at this stage and getting it into a better state. Or, I mean, sometimes it's hella buggy, sometimes it's not, and the PTUs are terribly buggy. But typically the released the live patches aren't so much. But 3.5 has been an exception and had a lot of problems. So I think criticizing is fine, and saying what's wrong is fine, and asking them to prioritize certain things is fine, and making our voices heard is fine. But when you say hold them to account, I need people to be concise what they mean by that. Because I hear a lot of people say a lot of things, but they don't mean anything fucking by it. They don't know what they talk about. But, sorry. Demon Wolf, thank you very much. Demon Wolf Law, appreciated for the sub. Thank you. Thank you very much. And you sub as well. Mwah. You have a little kiss. When will ship components stay with the ship while having to claim it? I don't know. Obviously, once we have physicalized components, well, maybe not even then. So they've got that new system they want with the 300 series variants they want to put in, which I suspect will be the changing of loadouts on a ship before we buy it. And then we claim it back, we get that loadout. But we need that in-game. We need insurance to be able to cover that sort of stuff. We need insurance to be able to cover the customizations we've done with our ship, so when we claim it, we just get that ship back. But I don't know when that's coming. I would like to have that as early as possible. Get sunlight on your skin regularly. I do. I need to get out more. We're getting some hot fixes for 3.5. I mean, there's a load of problems. I'm not defending CIG with that. I'm just saying they obviously are working on hot fixes, but it does seem to be problems which need to be fixed, which haven't been. Will we be able to run around in caves, and when? They're working on cave tech at the moment. It's procedural cave tech. It builds like modular sections of a cave out. We don't know when we're getting it though. It's going to be a way out. Can't excuse some of this stuff. Getting trapped on ArcCorp, yeah, that's pretty shitty. Especially with the workaround being that you have to reclaim your ship. They should be able to fix that pretty quick. I would have thought as well. Common travel times being 40 minutes. 40 minutes? I haven't had a ship going 40 minutes. I don't really mind items and ships being locked behind a paywall in game at the moment. I would prefer all ships to be rentable, all ships to be available, admittedly, but I'm not. That's not a bug to me. The problems that we had with quantum travel times were terrible. Are there still ships that are having problems? Then I take it. A lot of the time, I sort of like have a workaround and just assume everyone's using it. I suppose because I have a load of ships as well. So, it's an alpha, mate. It's an alpha statement is fine for certain things. However, for things that they should be able to fix relatively quickly, like ships getting stuck, like certain things with the problems with the flight model, like terrible glitches and stuff, that are probably quite simple fixes. They should be fixed quickly. CIG do go out of their way to make these major releases look as polished as possible. They do need to try and solve that stuff where possible. So, I mean, that is something that you do need to be critical with them with. They need to stop doing that. There's problems I have is that they seem to don't mind waiting to release something, but then very much rush it in the last week to get something out when it comes to like a live build. And sometimes you have those major game-breaking bugs like we have with 3.5. Yeah, I haven't had a problem with a ship traveling anymore since I knew you could turn the power down on the systems. I haven't actually had, since they tweaked the heat, I haven't actually had any problems with quantum travel at all. Is it in some of the small fighters? Are they still having problems? Elements not being aligned to the center of the screen for female players, rear of the Connie being immune to damage. I mean, that's it's an alpha excuse that I think is fine for that. That's like, yeah, there's the balance, and there's going to be lots and lots and lots of little problems and annoying problems. It's when there's major problems that prevent you doing anything that I think they need to fix. So, yeah, ships not being able to leave Lawville and ArcCorp or Area Team when they had that. I know at the moment it still occasionally happens. But it hasn't happened to me for a very long time, which is good. Can only really talk about the problems that I have with. There might be ones that other people have that are like game breaking for them, but I'm not aware of. But things that like prevent you from logging in, things that prevent you constantly dying when you log in, so you have to get back on the loop, crashing out. Those are problems that they have to solve, and they can't have a buggy alpha. They can't have something that's more broken than the previous major patch now. Even if it takes longer for them to release that live build, in my opinion, anyway. But there are obviously other problems which you can just say, yeah, that is an alpha. That lots of these little problems that will be coming about until we have more stability with a load of the gameplay systems. I know I talked about that very generalistically, but that's all I got. That's all I got at the moment. Yeah, it's looking at what an actual beta is supposed to be in Squadron 42. If Squadron 42 releases next year, I'd say that we've got at least another 2 years before we're out of it, at least. What do you think is a realistic date for the? What do you think is a realistic release date for the PTU? As much as a release date as we get. So do you mean the PU, Persistent Universe, rather than the Public Test Universe? PTU is the test universe. Or do you mean, are you talking about 3.6's PTU, or are you talking about Star Citizen being a live product? What I find annoying about patches is when they are buggier than the previous patch, like the live build. Well, in this case, 3.5 was actually buggier in its live build than it was in its PTU, or at least had more game breakers. The late PTU actually got pretty good. yeah, there's major problems with the servers. So I would have also reined the server caps back to 40 for 3.5 at the moment until they're able to get more server optimizations in. Do you think Chris should tell us how much money he's earning? I would like to know, yes. I would like to know. I don't think he has to. I don't necessarily think he should. But I'd like to know. He'll be criticised how much, whatever it is. Unless he was earning like minimum, sort of like minimum wage, he'd be criticised. So some people would say that he deserves $1 million a year. I think that's far too much. I think like the maximum he should really be hitting is 600,000, and that's still a lot of money when you think about he owns all of the stock and shares for his company, or a huge amount of it. So if Star Citizen and Squadron 42 do well, along with his wages, he'll also be able to sell his stock or take dividends based on that. So as long as he's not earning a ridiculous amount, I'm okay. I don't think he should be. C-suite employees, they typically earn a reasonable amount. I mean, they can be really big earners they've made in the industry, but then they get loads of stock options and loads of bonuses. Chris shouldn't be getting any fucking bonuses. Let me fucking tell you that. Best way I can think to hold them more accountable for CIG for this batch is to keep talking to them about issues. Yes, I totally agree. I agree with criticising them and talking to them about the issues. If you want me to say stop buying ships and stuff, it sucks. As it sounds like fun. No, you can have that opinion, Heavy Bob. You're allowed to have that opinion that you think we should vote with our wallets and we should sort of like stand up with our wallets. That is fine. You're allowed to have that opinion. And people that shout you down because of it, well, hopefully they might shut you down. But I mean, the argument where was, well, how is giving them less money helping the game and things like that? But I think talking about those issues, making sure that they know they're a priority, keep on poking them. I mean, I can make videos about stuff that I don't like, and I do think what I'll do is I'll do a shame of the game, or maybe not something so inflammatory titled. I can do stuff talking about all of the bugs in a bit more detail, and about stuff and processes I'd like them to change as they move forward. Certainly I can get the community involved to some extent. I mean, part of the Star Citizen project shouldn't just be us going, oh my god, isn't this game going to be good? It should be us being like, isn't this at the moment bad? Isn't that bad? Because we need that to improve. And sometimes there's game-breaking bugs, and it's fine to talk about them. It's not like saying that, oh my god, the game is shit. Well, the game needs to be fixed, and bugs need to be solved, and that is the project at this stage. I enjoy being part of that to a huge degree. I think it's fucking fantastic. And when you want to go in with an organisation and do some gameplay fun and some sandboxy stuff, you can do that even now. And I do think that Star Citizen looks and feels better with every patch. However, 3.5 has had some major issues which make me a little bit less easy about that statement. Are you aware of upcoming work on improving navigation? Not being able to pilot courses to points obstructed by the sun. I know that they want planets and moons and stuff rotating as well as revolving. As well as, you know what I mean? Rotating and revolving. So eventually we'll have to have full splines for navigation that are dynamic and change, because those planets will be moving as we go there. So I know they're improving navigation for that, but I don't know anything beyond that. Have you heard anything about the future of planetary mining? Mining bases and camps, mining vehicles, using ships seems clunky. I agree. And they did say they wanted mining outposts. And they did say they wanted refineries and stuff that you could do on planet, and that you would obviously be surveying the land to work out what resources are there. I'm not sure about mining ground vehicles, but I want that. I think it's sensible to have that. Yeah. We haven't heard much beyond year before last CitizenCon. Why do you think 3.5 is so buggy? A lot of old bugs that seem to have come back up. They added a new flight model. There's a load of problems with the servers. There's a load of change in 3.5 to the core stuff. It just some of the more niggling little bugs just turned up, unfortunately. Just something that happened. I don't think there's any particular reason for it that I could divulge. I think it could just be a bit of a coincidence, a bit random with this patch. Hopefully we won't have a patch that is as buggy as this when it goes live again. There's a load of stuff that they're moving over to loads of new stuff for their back-end systems. They're making sure everything's coded out of Lua, getting out of Lua now onto their new systems and things. So it could be in a load of different stuff with that. I mean, they are doing these major changes in the background that they don't really talk about beyond the monthly reports. Quantum travel times of small ships are 20 minutes each way from Olisar to ArcCorp and back. 40 minutes of quick time loading screen. Okay, so what I would say with that is that you don't need to move around the universe in those small ships. You can stay within a planet and the moons around it in a huge area. Being in a small ship sort of like precludes you from doing long distance travel very incredibly regularly. That's one of the things it's supposed to do. But if you stay just around Crusade or just around ArcCorp or just around Hurston or whatever, then you're only traveling less than a minute to moon to planet and all that sort of stuff. Eventually, I suspect we'll have carriers and even civilian carriers that will allow us to. I want to go from one side of the system to the other. Well, I'm just going to dock with this Kraken. I'm just going to dock with this civilian vehicle, and it's going to take me there in 3 minutes rather than 40 for a fee. But yeah, one of the reasons for the small ships is they're not supposed to be traveling for huge periods of time. I think that's fair. I think that's fair as well. How detailed will future Earth be once the Sol system is released? Will each continent be unique and interesting, or developed by large plots of land auto-generated buildings? We don't 100% know. I suspect that, assuming that we do have Earth and everything, I suspect they will have mostly city-covered planet, load of water exposed, so cities and water, and then have a good amount of no-fly zones, have the flight corridor they wanted, and then just have 7 or 8, or maybe 3 to 5 landing zones, like Tokyo and London and things like that, New York, and just have them looking reasonably unique compared to each other. That's my expectation. That's also my expectation based on the concept art I've seen. Do you believe passenger transportation is going to be a good work option? Do you know if it's possible to work as a pilot at the moment? I don't. There's going to be passenger transportation vehicles, so like the Genesis Starliner, for example. Potentially the 890 Jump and 600i will be able to do VIP transportation as well. Eventually, well, you can do lots of service beacon stuff even now, but there's an assumption, at least from me, that you'll be able to do service beacons which are transporting people's ships for them and piloting for them. So, question: do you think CIG would add a function to turn on QR code bug system again for those people who want to help iron out bugs? I think you can turn it on with in my CFG guide. Yeah, display session info. To QR code. So it's display session info equal 1. Okay. I think that still turns it on. In the PT, you could turn it on and off like that. What's your opinion on players saying it takes too long to get from point A to point B? I'd say those players are important for balance. Like, you want to know what feels like a long time and then match it with people that say it's too short and too long or just right, and then see what ship they're flying and then work it out. As I said, Star Citizen has got some of the systems in for play, but needs loads and loads more, and loads more tweaking. And they're trying to balance some things for final iterations already, which is ridiculous. But that's what they're trying to do. That's something I'll criticise them on as well. But, when did you first hear about this game? 2013. Tell me about your reaction and thoughts about the project. Why have you bought an $1,000 ship, Will? Not Will. Wesley. My mate Wes. He bought an Idris. I was like, what the fuck? And then I got more and more into it and understood it, and then like, oh, this looks pretty cool. This could be the next sort of like WoW and Eve crossed together. Why mechanics developed at a snail's pace? No multi-core mechanics. UI dump as hell. Not as single progression fleshed out. There are some progression specs fleshed out, especially like mining. At the moment, they're focusing on getting the rest of the core stuff in for Squadron 42's release, which looks like it's going to be next year, or at least they want the beta of Squadron 42 middle of next year at the moment, and all of that's going to be put into Persistent Universe. So a lot of the core of the game will be there. It'll be a lot more polished, a lot more playable. There's obviously a lot of Persistent Universe specific stuff they're doing as well this year. Is it possible to deduce how much Chris and his family are making by subtracting all confirmed costs from total spent? No, you could only see how much that employees as a whole are being given, which is around 30 million a year for what, 550-ish, 530-ish, which means he can't be being paid that much, because otherwise his employees are getting really low figures. Do you see what I mean? Guessing it's so buggy right now because devs are split with Squadron 42 and they're still backlogging bug fixing for 3.4 material. I think there's a multitude of reasons. I think it's slightly more coincidental than anything else. I think they're trying to get a load of stuff ready and in the game. I think that the new flight model and a few other things have all added to the problems and bugs. And lots of problems that 3.5's had. Obviously the server tech being pushed to its limits and things. So, I think they've still got a chance to save it before 3.6. I'm hoping that's what they do. I did say do. Will the rover be in the constellation Aquila eventually? As it is now, I have to travel to some planet I haven't been to even get it. Yeah, so the idea is that one of two solutions have presented themselves, I've been talked to about. Either you'll be able to put vehicles inside ships like you would be able to do loadouts. So you just go, and in this slot in the ship, I'll put my vehicle that I own, boop, and then it will just be there. The other one is that you'll be able to, from a console, when you spawn your ship, also spawn the vehicle in there. But that's what they want eventually. And then once those vehicles are in there, once those ships are in those locations, that's where they persist. You don't recall them back and forth unless you have to reclaim them for insurance purposes. And then I suspect you can only claim a ship on insurance if it has been destroyed or lost, not if it's just in a different location. Titan is the cheapest good ship. Yes, I agree. I think that the Titan is fantastic. Well, I think that the starting ships are fine. But if you want something a bit more efficient, the Avenger Titan, for like, was it $15 more or something? Oh, you're about to buy it in game anyway, so you're about to buy everything in game. Or do you know what they're going to do with the 2D cars on ArcCorp? They're going to make stuff look better. Some stuff is obviously going to either remain moving textures or just get a better version of that. The cars or ships or whatever that are on the motorways, I suspect they will look a bit better in the future once the server can handle better entities and better looking stuff, or more of them. They just keep on making it better and better. Love your face. Oh, thank you. Let's do. If I only own a Valkyrie, will Subsumption give me a mission to drop off NPCs into battle? So, the Subsumption system and the dynamic mission system won't specifically give you missions based on what ships you have, to my knowledge, unless there's a way of telling the system that you have those ships. But the idea is that you'll have access to those missions based on your location or based on who you know, based on your rep, and you can choose a mission that is suitable for you. You read about it, you understand it, and then you choose it, because it won't necessarily tell you how difficult it is as you're reading into how difficult it is. I think the bikes are pretty cool as well. Your rock board. I love how the only person who understands that 30 million divided between 500 plus does not leave much room for an extravagant CEO pay. Well, I mean, he could be really, really, really fucking over with some staff to get paid more. I mean, at least I doubt it. I mean, he'll probably take a reasonable, a good amount of money. I mean, that potentially Aaron might get paid more than him, sort of thing. Like that's the sort of thing, because Chris has a lot of stock. Chris has a lot of those shares. That would be my expectation, and they are going to be worth a fuckload of money. What does not dev? You should be saying all this today. He's allowed to talk. I mean, we're here to chat about Star Citizen, and I like the fact he's venting his opinion in a reasonably civil way. So, and I think it's fine to criticize Star Citizen on stuff that doesn't work for it at the moment. I mean, you can say, oh yeah, it's only an alpha, but that only holds up for certain things. There are some things that are, well, they should have fixed that before it went live, or why is this broken, or should we be saying that we want these patches to be more workable when they come out because you're taking a lot of time to do them. You had anything on the 300 series and the 3.5.x patch? So we talked about it a few times before. Obviously, there's lots of problems with 3.5 at the moment. We know that 300 series is the variants are going to be coming out with a 3.5.x patch in future. That could be a week, that could be a month, and then we're going to have the customization for those 300 series variants. But we're hoping we'll see hotfixes and mini updates ASAP, really, to fix 3.5 stuff. Will lifetime insurance be for the lifetime of the player, or so? Lifetime insurance follows the hull of the ship, so you can sell it and it would still keep the lifetime insurance. That's what they said. Statement. Could you do a 1-minute breakdown of differences between 3.4 and 3.5 and the bugs with 3.5? Yes. Esper, I will add that to my giga list. No MMO is ever finished. That's true, and I don't want Star Citizen to be finished. However, I do want Star Citizen to be released, and then for them to keep on working on it in a similar way that they are now. Preferably, maybe even once a month, getting updates. But you know what? They have 2D cars on ArcCorp. Well, in caps, T. Actually, I don't really care that much. I get annoyed when people get annoyed about caps, so I apologise. Yeah, because it's quick and easy for them to put them there. What do you want? Right, I want to talk a little bit. About Tumbril Ranger. So, I was actually quite excited when I saw this because I wanted a wheeled bike for a while. I think that getting these in game will help them do general ground-based stuff. Getting wheeled vehicles working a bit better in game. I know we've got the Tumbril Cyclone as well, and I suspect that by the time these are in, we'll actually have pretty damn good ground physics anyway. But the Ranger CV, this one that can take 1.2 SCU of cargo, probably the most exciting to me. Twice the size fuel tank as well. But the idea of these bikes is that they're so small. They're so small that they can fit in almost, well, they can fit in the smallest possible ship that a vehicle could fit in. See what I mean? They're going to be the smallest vehicle in the game. So, not really happy about the TR. TR's got 2 forward-facing guns. I think it's going to actually be quite hard to aim them. And that actually might make it a bit wider. The racing one, I can see that racing in these is going to be pretty fucking fun. And that's CV. Also came with functional armor. So we've got a little racing jacket. We've got some leathers. But we also have a cargo vest for carrying mission items as well. Or more gear, I suppose. See how tiny it is compared to the Tumbril Cyclone there. Like, I think that looks like it could have fit into an Avenger Titan. Pretty little tiny. That's what we got. Pretty cool racing version. That looks like it's actually there on a race. Area 18? I think it's going to be a racetrack around Area 18. Hmm. That racetrack in the space, didn't they? They did say they wanted the donut buildings. What if they're racetracks? I just didn't notice. What else we got here? There's a CVs doing a little cargo haul. For some reason, this reminds me of Death Stranding. Just with but I'm not too impressed with the TR. Some people will love it. All the fact that this literally comes up and down. So for storage, we just hide the was it pannier? They're from $30 each. I got to pay VAT 20% in my country, but they're from $30. The War Bond versions for $30 come with lifetime insurance. Both the racing and the CV version are $30, and then it's $35 for the TR with the guns. Pew! Something really mega amazing about them beyond that they are a tracked bike, though. A small tracked bike. I suppose it's because they're so small, because they can fit into so many ships. But they're going to be so cheap in game. Like, these are the sort of things that, yeah, it's cool to buy if you want to support the game, or you've got some spare store credit or whatever, or you want a lifetime insurance token. But they're going to be very, very, very common in game. So just bear that in mind. Have a look-see. More questions, and then we'll talk about a little bit about CitizenCon, and then I'll go get some sleep. Will the Ranger fit in the Avenger? I think it will probably fit in the Avenger Titan. Looks like it will. Going to the deli, do you want anything? Cornetto. No, we don't have any info on 3.5.1 yet. I'm doing alright, thanks. I've had a bit of a dodgy stomach. I'm pretty tired, so I'm going to have some water in a minute and go to bed for a little while, and then get an FAQ video done late tonight, I think. Hello, Flymo. How's it going, dude? How have I been since CitizenCon? Alright, mate. Been a bit tired, a bit worn out recently. It's, Area 18 Underground Arena. That's what it sort of looked like, isn't it? Dragonfly can shoot and carry cargo. Doesn't splitting up this functionality severely limit the Tumbril's usefulness? It's for travel, so it's not a combat vehicle, really. I suppose you could argue because with the TR version it is, and you should have to have the little pannier on the combat version as well. Maybe they missed out on a trick there. Maybe they should have made it more modular. Like, here's the here's the base of the bike. Bam. And you can buy these modules for it. Yeah, maybe they're missing out on a trick. I think it's a design choice to keep it separate, though. Yes, the Dragonfly can shoot and carry cargo and an extra passenger. Well, or an extra passenger. VAT is value-added tax you paid in the UK on goods and services. Will all bikes fit in the 600i cargo hold? Yes. Hey, Board, do you know the story of why CIG named the Area 18 landing zone Riker Memorial? It's because Backer died. That's what they named it. After it. For him. For him, effectively. Will modularity become a thing again? Yes, as far as I'm aware. They want to treat those modular rooms as the same as like loadout items. That was the idea. Is there any indication of when or if we're able to play a game of pooling game? When the game's going to have like physics to support that, but there's no indication of when they'd have that in game. Do you think there'll be high gravity planets where hover bikes will fail and only wheel-based vehicles will work? No, I don't think there'll be ones where hover bikes just fail. I think there will be certain ones that wheel-based ones will be better and more effective, and that hover bikes are less effective on. I think when you're getting sort of like too much gravity, then I don't think your player will be able to walk very much on that planet even. Yeah, the bike should be able to fit in the 600i cargo hold, yeah. Right, I just want to talk about CitizenCon for a bit. So we got CitizenCon confirmed, and this is the CitizenCon page that will get updated with more and more information, so be aware of that. In Manchester, England, like we expected this year, 23rd of November 2019. Interesting date, because that means typically CitizenCon is on the 10th of October, or around that. My mother's birthday. But they've moved it now to the 23rd of November, which is typically when they start the anniversary sales. So CitizenCon would have been a big sale period for them, and the anniversary sales would have been a big sale period for them. So like look like they're putting that together. So obviously it's a lot later than normal, by like 6 weeks. And this is interesting because are they going to hold 3.7 back for the 23rd of November? If they do, then it's like 3 weeks before the next major release. So maybe we're going to get 3.7 in September, end of September, and not related to CitizenCon. And maybe we'll get a 3.5, a 3.7.5 patch for CitizenCon.
This time.
Yar! Thank you very much, Osri. You got me. Thank you. Thank you very much for the sub as well. 20 months, fucking hell. Oh, I used to be such a sprightly, young, outgoing chap. Now look at me. I'm fucking playing computer games for a fucking living. Boom, win. We're talking about them at the moment. There's also the quote here from Nick Croshaw, who discovered the first jump point and the Croshaw system. We've become explorers again. We have resurrected mystery, discovery, and adventure. So that's why some people thought maybe we'll see the Carrack here. Maybe we'll see exploration gameplay. Maybe we'll see jump points.
Another one for you, sir.
Oh, thank you, Flymo, as well. Oh, we've got two on the sub chain. It's all right. 2 links is enough for me. Thank you very much, Flymo. I love your fucking base. Oh, very much appreciated. Legend. Yeah, so CitizenCon, interesting date. Now, I will try and get a ticket, definitely. I'm very excited to go. Hopefully, Sin will be working and educated on how to make videos by the time I go as well, so that I can leave the running of the channel for a couple of days to her, even if I'm sending in voice clips of reading out information or summary or whatever. Yeah. There's so much stuff they could show at CitizenCon. Jump points, new systems, aliens, Squadron 42 stuff. So Squadron 42 release date may be a broader vertical slice, because we know they've been working on that from the last monthly report. They're doing a broader vertical slice for the first third of the Squadron 42 game. There's so many gameplay mechanics. There's obviously a lot coming with 3.8 and 3.9. So there's so much stuff they could show. Now, they do like to try and wow people at CitizenCon. Obviously, we'll get loads and loads of different panels. There'll be lots of cool stuff to do at the convention center that they're holding it at. And that convention center is fucking massive. It was... So it's this giant old station which has been converted. Now, I'm pretty sure that CIG are not going to be having the whole building. If people want to see Wiki, have a look. So they'll probably like have a portion of the building, like a third or a half of it or something. There's also a dentist convention going on that day in the building, which is I also suspect that they haven't got the whole building. Yeah, I'm very excited about CitizenCon, because it's a huge portion of the information I get for like 6 months coming with that. And they always have some cool videos and some cool stuff to show off. And Squadron 42 Episode 1 is very close now, and Star Citizen's Persistent Universe, once they get server meshing in, they can really like power through a lot of content. So I'm interested to know what other people think we might see. Yes, some guy did have a ponytail in that picture. That is true. They have got a new hair pipeline allowing for lots of different hairstyles coming in. What are your thoughts on how to deal with the language gaps in Europe in particular, where we have a lot of different powerful languages? Should everyone speak English? That's a good question. I was talking to Pulsar 42 guys who are obviously French, and I was talking to Anio, who's Spanish, and talking about how to bring all these orgs and groups together. And I don't know how they should do it. We definitely need a way to communicate with each other across Europe. For people that just want to speak French and just want to speak Spanish and just want to speak English, it shouldn't be everyone has to speak English. I do want some cross sort of like org play. I mean, maybe interpreters in orgs might help a lot. That could actually genuinely be a position if it's not sorted out any other way. Because I suspect that will actually work, because you do have a lot of players in France and a lot of players in Spain and Germany that don't speak English or don't want to, and that's fine. So yeah, there needs to be some ways of getting those communities together, and there seems to be ways of dealing with. At the moment, obviously, the game is in English. They needs to be more languages available for the game, but that will just come. The game will be available in lots of different languages. And that will change the voice actors and all that sort of stuff as well. So bear that in mind. So both on the community side and game side, obviously, need to be catered for many languages. Maybe not all languages, but many languages. Like, where do you sort of draw the line? Do you have... well, I mean, I suppose, yeah, it can cater for all languages, is what I'm saying. But what I'm talking about, all time zones and all countries. Like, maybe they will separate Asian servers from US and Europe servers, maybe. We'll have to wait and see to see what's sensible in the future, I think. What's happened to Operation Pitchfork? Is it still happening? Yeah, it'll still be happening. That's still the plan. They are waiting for Star Citizen to be a lot more developed and actually have Vandal to kill. Dentistry convention is also happening in the building on the same day. Towards your CitizenCon costs, thank you very much, Summer Yeti, I love you. Oh my god, that's a lot of money. People have been sending me lots of money today. Thank you very much. I very much appreciate it. It does help, especially when I've had a day off and shit like that. Thank you, I love you. Just yawn directly in your faces. No, it genuinely is appreciated, because it allows me to expand the channel, allows me to, get paid for doing videos constantly. Makes it a lot more worthwhile. Makes me not so worried about having a full-time employee soon. Things like that. So genuinely thank you. Do you have any hotel recommendations for Manchester? Not for around that area. Typically, I will get a hotel around the airport or stay with a friend. I don't have any where I've particularly researched. Crytek lawsuit status? Unknown currently. I'm suspecting they will settle pretty quick, but that might not necessarily be the case. So no more updates currently on the Crytek lawsuit status. I will keep you up to date as soon as I know more, though. I'm interested in covering that. Will we see VTOL engines on the freelancer? VTOL, I see. And similar ways of getting hover mode in game. I'm not entirely sure exactly how the hover mode stuff's going to work. Obviously, it is mostly VTOL, but it might be mini thrusters and stuff as well. Should cater for lots of different ships beyond just VTOL thrusters, though. It should make the atmospheric gameplay significantly better in the new flight model. That's what I believe. I know the Javelin isn't in game yet, but it's 480 meters the great length. Yes, it is. It's massive.
I'm dodging bullets like fucking
beautiful.
Leo.
Do you think we will have 1,000 players at the same time in a server, and when? 2022? That's the plan, and I don't suspect there's any problems with having 1,000 players, and that's the low end, very low end of what they plan to have. And that will be when server meshing's dynamic. You can have a lot of players in a server once they have static server meshing, which will be in the not too distant future at all. 2022, yeah, I can foresee that we'd have a fuck ton of players in servers by then. Maybe not 1,000, maybe hundreds though. I mean, maybe it will be fully done by then. Maybe the dynamic server meshing will be fully dialed in by then. So maybe. It's a big jump from 50 to 1,000 by then. That's all in my head. It is a long time. 3 years is a long time. So maybe. I suppose 3 years is enough to get it done. It's hard to judge when I don't know how much work goes into that shit. I sort of judge it by what they say in the monthly reports and on their roadmaps and when they talk about it. But when I don't know the sort of size difference and the time for iteration between static to dynamic, it's hard to sort of Yes, I used to play a lot of Eve. Don't play them at the moment, but I probably will again in the future. Billion creds to fully outfit a Javelin from scratch. 500 million? 21 million for a Hammerhead. I mean, I think 500 million's probably reasonable to get a Javelin and maybe outfit it. I suspect you can make it. You fit it with the best of the best of the best. I bet you can make it worth 4 or 5 billion. Something stupid. Remember, in Eve, some of the modules are the most valuable things. Thoughts on the Reddit theory that they're secretly working on the Mercury or Hercules for release with Crusader like they did with the Valk? Potentially the Mercury or some other vehicles and stuff. I mean, that's the sort of stuff they can put in game. Chris Fider. Fiddler. I want to get your name right because you sent me $100. Chris Fiddler. Thank you so much. More money. Thanks for your vids. Thank you very much for your money, smiley face. Jesus Christ. Very much appreciated. Chris and Summer Yeti and anyone that sent me vast quantities of money. If I can do anything for you, you've got any ideas for videos, if you want me to take consider an org for an org spotlight or whatever, poke me. I'm happy to give you preferential treatment because you've sent me so much money. Mwah. Jeez, thank you. Yeah, that's made me feel better. Just look at the smugness now of getting money for sitting here. Thoughts on apps we just talked about. What is the largest number of players in a single dogfight or ground battle expected to be in the future? I don't know. A lot. In the future, people are thinking thousands of players could be any battle. However, that battle will effectively be segmented quite heavily by server meshing. And what is a battle? Could you have a battle over multiple star systems that's happening, and then players traveling between the two? What do you define as a battle? You're talking about within a zone. What size zone? Fiedler. Thanks. Thanks, Fairplane. Everyone does that, do they? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be. I didn't mean to be everyone. Should have pre-sent me your names. Said I'm going to send you a load of money. Here's my name. Talk shit about Star Citizen, take my money. I think like the thing with Star Citizen, it's not my job to defend it. I love it. I'm a massive fan. I do think it's going to genuinely be a great game. I think there's going to be some parts of it I don't like. I'll probably avoid those parts mostly. There'll be loads of gameplay that I love. There'll be some that I don't like, almost certainly. So I'll just avoid for the most part those gameplay loops that I don't particularly like in the future. I do like the way they're developing the project. I like the drama in the project. I like the problems. I like the solutions. I like the staff. I like the employees. I love the fucking community and the bar citizens and things. They are superbly fun. The people I've met along the way so far. So it's an amazing thing for me. Like, I've been able to make a YouTube channel and expand it massively, just from Star Citizen content, or mostly from Star Citizen content. And it's only looking to get more and more for the future. And yeah, if something terrible happened with Star Citizen or I was no longer covering it, I'd cover something else. Something else that I was just as pretty much enjoyment covering, I hope, or multiple other things. Always know I could do reasonable gaming news. But one of the other things is that I don't want to be seen. Well, I don't give a fuck if I'm seen as a Star Citizen fanboy. That's irrelevant. I'll cover Star Citizen. I'll cover it warts and all. But I do enjoy the game, and I am pretty reasonable, and I'm pretty forgiving. Maybe I'm a bit too forgiving sometimes when it comes to certain things. But I will criticise CIG when I think it's necessary, or when it's something I don't like, or when they've done something which I consider bad or can be seen as bad. I won't overly praise them, but I will trust them to quite a high extent in their roadmaps, even when I know they can be incorrect, and they obviously are incorrect. They keep on changing, but I'll trust them. That's their intention at the time, and I'll trust them that they've got a good idea for the vision and that they can do that. That trust is based on previous ATVs inside Star Citizens and the news they release. It's not a blind faith. It is a trust based on empirical evidence. You don't have to agree with my conclusions with stuff, and that's fine. But I am happy to talk about them, and I am happy for other people to talk about them, and I am happy for other people to criticize and say stuff. I am not happy for other people to be discivil or horrible or really, really, really offensive and rude just because they can be. So if people are civil and chat, like Heavy Bob, you are totally fine talking about your opinions here. I know a couple of people tried to shut you down, potentially because they thought it might be like looking like you were going to troll or whatever. But I think you were very civil and you were absolutely fine from the comments I saw anyway, unless you were calling people dickheads and I didn't see. But that sort of thing, I think that's absolutely fine, and people should be able to talk about Star Citizen. I want to. I really want to talk about it. I love talking about it. I like this guy. But give me money! No. Please don't. I'm an active Star Citizen backer player, and you know what I think. They spend so much time promising and figuring out roadmaps and stuff related to that, and communication with backers. So they get communication with backers wrong sometimes, but they are actually pretty fucking good with it compared to what they've previously been. I didn't like the fact that they stopped videos for a little while, the video content so much. I want more video content. I like CIG's video content. They got quite good at doing like things like calling all devs, and now I actually really enjoy Inside Star Citizen. For me, it's their best show they've done. So I'm actually really liking that. So I do like that. I can feel that Lando's style is coursing throughout that video, content. So hopefully they'll bring back calling all devs or something similar. However, Star Citizen Live, they do ask a lot of questions and they get a lot of answers. And last week's wasn't the most entertaining, but it did have some informative bits about animation, and it did show off some of the way they do stuff about animation. So it was interesting, and it was something that they should have shown. Yeah, I mean, I'm loving Star Citizen. Shame about 3.5 being a bit overly buggy. However, I avoid most bugs when I play it, because I play it at a different time of day, so quite early in the morning in Europe, so there's no one on. So I have like 30 player servers maximum, so I don't have a load of the problems that other people have. I've got a large range of ships with accounts in different areas, so I can just spawn on an account and just do something. So I can get my B-roll, I can play, and I can test something pretty easily. But obviously that's not the same for everyone. Star Citizen's an alpha, and that's its shitty point at being an alpha. It does sometimes get overly buggy. 3.5 live, some great stuff. A bad live patch, though, when it comes to bugs. Hopefully they'll get them all solved pretty soon. But, I mean, yeah, if you're good with the workarounds and you jump in, you probably still have quite a good time. Some people are just going to have a terrible time. They've got a single-seater fighter and they want to travel around the verse a load. But again, we talked about that earlier. Any other questions? Sorry, I'm on a bit of a rant, man. I just, sometimes it's good to have a bit of a Star Citizen real talk. Hammerhead or Polaris? Oh. I mean, I'd want a Hammerhead. Oh, no. I'd want a Polaris more than a Hammerhead, because I feel that the Polaris is worth a lot more, so I'd sell it. The Hammerhead, I feel, has got more use for things that I'd use it for. So, like, it's a gunboat, you could probably run it a lot cheaper than you could a Polaris. It hasn't got those huge fucking torps. It's going to be quite good defensively, so shooting things down, preventing fighters and bombers getting too close. I like the Hammerhead more than I like the Polaris. Should we expect some type of subscription to play Star Citizen in the future, or do you think they'll fund the game with cosmetics and ship sales, and when ship sales end? Well, I mean, they will look into other ways of monetizing the game if necessary. So it will be selling in-game currency. The UEC, they've already said they're going to do that. Yeah, probably cosmetics and skins and stuff, because why the fuck not? Probably limited ship sales. I wouldn't mind if they continued doing concept sales for ships. I wouldn't mind if they still... Well, I mean, they got UEC being sold, so that effectively is selling ships in-game anyway. They probably would look into monetization of the game for subscriptions if they had to. That's probably something they do a good few years out. Like, well past its release. If it was, like, 15 years later and the game wasn't making out of only a very small audience, they'd do a alpha mega clone type scenario where it's free to play, but you can also subscribe, whatever. Mechanic I'm most looking forward to in Star Citizen at the moment, probably outpost building. It changes from day to day. Did I thank you, Starlight Fisher, for the 100 bits? I'm not sure if I did, but thank you. If I hadn't, I saw Chris Fiedler send me a load of money, so it kind of balanced it out. I just may have ignored you. I apologise. The Hammerhead, because it's in game right now. I know, right? Yeah, it's just people need to be aware of major problems with some live patches, and that's not a terrible thing. It's just sort of like a nature of the project. I mean, they are building towards something potentially amazing, and that's what we're all hoping for. And it is hope, but it's sort of like hope based on that empirical evidence of they are now starting to get a lot more into the game, and they have had some previously good patches and parts of patches, and we can see what they're trying to do, hopefully, and we can follow along with it, and it does look like we're going to get something pretty good out of it. I think Squadron 42 Episode 1 is going to be that litmus test for are they able to ship and market a product effectively, and is what they've been saying about their vision true? Now, I think it is. I think that game, at the very least, is going to be a great game. I think it might be 95 plus, but we won't know until we play it. I think that's what they're obviously aiming for, like top tier game. But it needs to be, that flight model needs to be perfect. I mean, they've got the celebrities, they've got the graphics, they've got the audio, they've got all of these cool things. They just need to bring it all together. And Chris, historically, with Wing Commander, was very good at bringing it all together. But that was a long time ago, so. They're going to sell in-game currency. Why play the game? To play the game? Why do anything? Why not just make real money and play pretend? What do you mean? Play the game to enjoy the game. What do you think of Chris Roberts' mismanagement accusations? What? Chris Roberts being accused of mismanagement. I think that he has been previously inefficient. I think previously he has been a micromanager of things, and I suspect there is constantly that in every business. However, I think previous to 2016, that Chris Roberts was very inefficient and very bad at managing CIG and Star Citizen compared to what he is now. Like, I think he did a load of stuff wrong and inefficiently. I think that's a very fair criticism of him. And I think that bringing on people like Aaron Roberts and getting Brian Chambers and a few of the other people that are core to the project now in, Tony Zarovic, they are able to now be a lot more efficient. And Chris obviously has had temperament changes and he's become a lot better at running that company. But I do think previous to that, that's a very fair. So the Forbes article brought up a lot of points that were in the past that probably were true and accurate to some degree anyway. A lot of the Forbes article had opinions on these, which I do not necessarily agree with. In fact, I don't agree with a lot of them at all. There was a lot of stuff like, this means this and that sort of stuff. So they drew conclusions I felt was irrelevant from a lot of the data. But I do believe that a lot of the data was accurate. And I do believe that he probably was inefficient and mismanaging stuff previously. I mean, when you were starting up a small company to a massive company over the course of 3 years, from 2013 to 2015, 2 years, they went from 8 people to 300 or so. That's a big change. So I do suspect there was a lot of teething issues and problems in the way that Chris worked. Previously, in a small studio, he would have been able to micromanage everyone and walk around behind them. As soon as that expands, and he's still trying to do that, that's not great. For a game that is looking very good, why is there so much bad press about Chris Roberts? It's just the nature of, that's just what's happening at the moment. Not that much bad press about Chris Roberts. It's just that Forbes article. It's people mirroring that Forbes article over the last week. Chris Roberts has got a pretty good pedigree when it comes to games. That's why he was able to kickstart that. When Chris talks to you, when you actually if you get the chance to have a chat with him, he chats directly to you, and he's very so he feels very earnest and very sort of honest when you chat to him. So he's quite good at selling you the vision and the game. I do think that he's got a good vision, and he's talked about it a lot. Seems very genuine. I mean, there's obviously done a lot of problems and there's been a lot of mistakes, and he has got a lot of the stuff wrong in the past. But as I said, from 2016 sort of onwards, they've got a lot better with that. My question, if you want to answer that. So I didn't see what that was. Oh, we did. I've already answered it, I don't think VR will be a thing in a game like Star Citizen or GTA. Well, it sort of works with GTA. I've played it in GTA. In the ship, it's okay, but walking around in VR environment will never work. You'll get dizzy and disorientated. Your thoughts? So I've got a Vive Index. No, Valve Index. I've bought one because it's 120/144 hertz. It's got a bigger field of view, and it should help a lot with that. The difference between the Oculus DK2 and the Vive/Oculus CV1 was massive. It's I used to get reasonable dizziness and sickness with the DK2, and very little with those headsets. And I think that with the Valve Index, that I'll get even less. And I do think that Squadron 42 Episode 1 will be much more suitable for VR. Don't want games where you're hugely in motion necessarily like GTA and stuff, admittedly with VR, because of the way you move in VR. And you've got a huge open area and you can run around. But I still think it will work. And I think the next generation and the 1.5 generation of headsets that are coming out, 2.5 generation, that this sort of like half generations Valve Index and stuff will be good enough for that sort of VR. But I'll have to wait and see. I will give you a better rundown once I actually have one. Do you think Star Citizen VFX and textures are starting to look a little dated? No, I do not. I do think there's improvements and stuff they can do to them. It's on the scale. Like, when they are in very small areas, they have really high detailed, beautiful environments. When they're on huge scales, they don't look as great, but they still look pretty good. Various answers to my question, very fair, and I completely agree. Just wanted to see if you'd be biased, which you weren't. Super hyped for the game. Everyone is biased to some extent. It's about being able to identify those biases and then talk about stuff rationally, responsibly, I suppose. Like, I do not need to defend any position. I don't need to defend CIG. I don't need to defend my own positions. I can talk about them openly, about how I feel and how I see things and how I interpret them, and then I can see how other people react, see if maybe I've made an error, or there's something else I didn't see, or I can see a different point of view from that person. That's the way you should approach conversations. I'm not trying to prove a point to someone. The combat's been broken for 18 months. I'd call that not being efficient. That is true. Like, there's definitely been major problems. 2.6.3, fucking great flight model, fucking great combat. Hey, back in the day. I do think we're going to have something genuinely great once they get it all done, though. I just think it's taking a fucking long time. They are working on lots of other bits of it, though, and they do need to get server meshing done, and they have been plodding along with it, even when they've been breaking stuff that was working great before. You argue for counterpoint. I'm happy to discuss counterpoint, but I don't want to argue for counterpoint. I would... I did a video and stuff. I tried to represent all views. Well, maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. I'm saying with the question right. I believe Chris Roberts is doing a good job. And in Forbes' article, he was slated for sending aspects of the game back to the designers, asking them to make it better, which I agree with, because he wants the game to be bang on. That is true. However, I think he may have been overly aggressive with that, or I think maybe he did that to too much of an extent, like when it wasn't perfect. If something got like 97 out of 100 points, he'd be like, no, it needs a minimum of 99. It needs 99% exactly what my thought is. So I think maybe he was a little bit overly micromanagey and wanted everything, too much of a perfectionist. And I think that's because he started in a small studio where that would have been appropriate, and then he moved on to being able to have enough money to be able to have perfection, and that's sort of like what he thought he had to have in game. Now I think he is settling for that 95% eventually. At the moment, obviously, stuff breaks all the fucking time. They try and get stuff out, they try and get these cool things in, and they push for a load of content, but they obviously break stuff. So that is the nature of the alpha, though. Yay! But he blocked me. Who blocked you? Who he blocked you? I haven't blocked you because I can read your message. No blocky. That's one of the other things, actually. I've got like 4 people blocked on Twitter because I don't think it's because of they've said to me, because of stuff they said to other people that I thought, oh my god, not talking to you, like terrible shit, like stuff that you call the cops for. And on my YouTube, probably maybe 10 people, like the hidden or removed users. And that's, again, only when the blocker picks them up and says, do you want to remove this person? And it's like, what have they said? Oh my god, yes! Again, stuff that's typically illegal or so offensive that it's like, that is not appropriate. Forbes article, I admit, one part of the article from the character artist of the other company wasn't clear about this information. So, okay, so I'll give you an example of some of the stuff in the Forbes article they didn't like for information. They said they talked to 20 devs, and basically the information that they gave paints a picture of Chris Roberts being a micromanager and perfectionist and mismanagement. However, they didn't say how many of those were positive. It might have just been one person that disagreed with him or didn't like him. You see what I mean? And it paints a picture. That paints a picture of all other 19 might have had no comment, or they might have said no, he's great to work for, or 10 of them might have said that, or 15 might have said that, or 3 of them, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So it's like loads of, none of them. It was like, I think it was 2 named devs in the entire thing. One of them was a guy that makes mobile games. There wasn't anything to do with stars. So there was a lot of stuff that was sort of like, this is journalistic bullshit that I don't like. This is drawing relevant conclusions. This is saying that this suits your narrative, so you're going to talk about it. However, there's certainly some things in that Forbes article that were probably correct. Probably quite a lot of it was correct factually when it came from analysis of data, to some extent anyway. But they drew then relevant conclusions from that data, or stuff that was irrelevant. Wasn't something I would have covered if I'd had all of that data. It wasn't something I would have covered on my channel, because there was nothing there that was new. There was nothing there that was relevant to game development at the moment that was new. How close is Star Citizen to get server meshing? We don't know. We know they're working on getting at least parts of it in this year. Thanks for the update. No worries at all. Thanks for joining me. I mean, it's just me having a bit of a rant. I like talking. I like taking effectively some time off just to talk to people in the stream, because it gives me ideas for videos. It gives me ideas for what people want to know at the moment, FAQ-wise, what's polarizing, what's broken, what's working well, what they're looking forward to, all that sort of jazz. Bear with me 1 second. Just going to change over browser source. Squadron. Right, any other questions? Question in brackets, you want to ask something? Go through a quick roundup of questions in a second, and I'm gonna dash off, have a snooze, have some water, have a snooze, and then try and get an FAQ video up. Yeah, I'd like them to have a monthly shipshape video that they do. That would be good. There's loads of stuff they could do. They could do design document videos where they talk about future current plans for gameplay and gameplay loops, so like science gameplay, the endeavor, ships, all that sort of stuff. Some people say the Forbes article was to bash the whole crowdfunding and not only Star Citizen. Forbes has connections with EA and some traditional developers. Forbes has connections with EA, and as a traditional developer, they feel the heat. Any truth in that? There might have been some truth in that, to the point of if the writers have a slight bias or agenda towards that, or they believe that, if they didn't understand Star Citizen, sort of like how it crowdfunds and what it is, I doubt either of them have played it. I doubt either of them understand how the crowdfunding or the development works for it. And it's not they don't understand game development. That's Star Citizen is very unique in the way it does things. And Forbes will look at it with a business analysis sort of thing, which might not be appropriate for something that is very different from other businesses. It is crowdfunded, grassroots. So yeah, there might be some truth in that maybe the writers of that article were sort of like looking at a more, had connections with EA, have a more of a traditional game development sort of like view to that, or maybe they just didn't like it, or maybe they were just trying to push whatever. I mean, there's too many things going on there for me to be able to make an analysis of that. There might be some truth in it. When will the Jav be in game? I need it. Sometime after Squadron 42. Looks like Squadron 42 may be released next year. So Star Citizen should expand significantly beyond just fetch quests and the other missions we've got in the game at the moment, the combat ones, the investigation ones, the more evolved, kill people here ones. So we're getting a dynamic mission system, 3.7, 3.8, and they are evolving so that missions are a bit more modular, and there's going to be lots of different types of mission. So you should have a lot more organic, interesting missions in the near future. Thanks for your YouTube videos. Thank you very much for saying that, Mr. Stinging Nestles. Appreciate it. You think we'll get hover cars? Yes. At some point, we'll probably have a hover car of some description. It's not just a bike. A Tumbril, for example, do make hover vehicles as well. One of their ideas. Will server-side OCS provide any performance increases that will be noticeable in the PEU? So, technically not on the client side. It will prevent the server from bottlenecking unless all of the people in the server are fucked off to every location of the server, because server-side object container streaming allows them to turn off and sleep areas in the server that haven't got anyone near them. They don't need to be up. So the server then is concentrating its resources in the areas where it needs to. So it makes it a lot more efficient. So technically, it doesn't affect the amount of frames that the client gets. However, at the moment, you get 45 plus people in the server. That can cause issues because the server is sending data slower, so you're getting effectively a lower frame rate because the server's under 30 frames or whatever, or the AI breaks or whatever. You get chunkiness, or at least judderiness. Of course, was an article on how social justice warriors won over Gamergate when Total Biscuit died. History belongs to the victim. I remember that. That was fucking monstrous, wasn't it? Forbes is not what people seem to think it is. Forbes has multiple points there and multiple different writers. So maybe, I don't know. I don't read Forbes. I only read 2-3 Forbes articles. Got. Right. I am going to go and see if someone else is streaming so I can host them. And then I am going to go have some water and then photosynthesize and sleep. Can I host them? No. Later on tonight, I will try and get a FAQ video out. We are going to go and host Nerd Show and Tell. Love. Right. Love you guys very much. Thank you very much for all the fucking money. Jeez. And the conversation. Like, feel free to genuinely ask me anything when I do things like this, even when I'm doing gameplay. We will start doing a lot more gameplay soon. I know at the moment I just sort of talk, but you know, either I'm playing Star Citizen or making videos in Star Citizen. When I come on the stream, I kind of just want to talk more. I'm not very good at multitasking yet, but that will change, and hopefully when Zin's around as well, I'll be able to do a lot more easily. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I love you guys. Very much appreciated. Give this guy some love as well, and I will talk to you soon. Bam!